Well, thank you. Thank you for that welcome, and thank you to Sean for everything he's done to set this up. I really am excited to be here. I've spoken at different venues, but I've never told many of these stories. So I was glad that the theme was true grit, because it's something I've struggled with. So as he said, my name is Monica Enand, and I'm the founder and CEO of Zapproved. We build cloud software to help corporations manage litigation. Zapproved has currently grown to about 75 employees now, but we, like many of you, have overcome our share of obstacles. When I started the company, it was really with a very simple idea. It was email sucked at getting agreement, getting people to agree on everything, and it generated a ton of waste. And there had to be a better way. There had to be a better way to document agreement. There had to be a better way to get people to come to agreement. And I could see that being used for lots of different reasons in lots of different businesses. So I had this grand vision of this large platform, kind of horizontal. And so I went for it, right? I quit my job. I got agreement from my husband to dip into our savings. And Zapproved came to life in February of 2008. Those of you who remember 2008. After a few months, actually, so February, and then after a few months working on the platform, we were ready to launch. We actually went to beta in August of 2008. And once we decided to kind of let the cat out of the bag and tell people about what we were doing, it was really exciting. It was probably one of the most exciting times of my life. Read, Write, Web, TechCrunch, Lifehacker, all the top blogs, CNET wrote about us, and Mashable wrote about us and started using our product. And within like weeks, we had tens of thousands of people on the system and activity on the system, people doing things and telling us ideas of how they use the platform. And I thought, oh my God, we are so brilliant. Like, this is like, I can't believe I didn't do this earlier. And so I just thought for sure we were like a success. And then that was August. And then in September, Lehman Brothers failed. And those of you remember that was kind of getting into scary times. So our futures, which at one time seemed very assured, really frankly took a total 180. Unemployment over the next year rose from 6 to 10%. I had a home on the market that I was trying to sell. We were not able to, as you can imagine, sell that home at that time. So I had 2 mortgages. My husband and I were the sole source of any funding for this company. I was dipping into our savings at the same time that our savings was taking a dive because of what was happening in the economy. My husband and I had actually set a limit of $100,000 to get the company off the ground. And I kept going back to him and saying, we're making great progress. I have to take a little more. I have to take a little more. And I did that in 25K increments until one day he kind of said, when does this end? And I honestly, at that moment, felt like, am I like my dad was into gambling, and I thought, am I a gambling addict? Like, what's happening to me? What's happening to me? Like, I really felt like maybe there was something very dangerous going on. And given the kind of economic shitstorm that was going on, I didn't think there was any way to find angel investors. It felt, pretty remote at that time. And the other thing that was going on is we were coming to OEN events, and we were coming to all kinds of places and meeting other entrepreneurs, and we were watching one by one those entrepreneurs fold, and those startups go out, quit and go out of business. And so it was not a very encouraging time. And even though we decided to move forward, I have to say, I was racked with the most doubt I've ever had in my life. I kept thinking, maybe this was a horrible, horrible idea. I mean, during the day in front of my employees and investors, I never said that, but and during the evening, or even when I go to the bathroom, I would think, oh my God, this is probably a horrible idea, and I don't know that we can survive this recession, and I don't know how long it's going to go on or how bad it's going to be, and how we're ever going to get out of it. And what would, a lot of entrepreneurs talk about, go big or go home, or hitting the home run, and they're very motivated by doing something huge. I think, honestly, at that moment, I was not motivated by doing something huge. I was just motivated because I was the I was really afraid of failure. Like, what would my friends and family think of me? I left this great job. My mom would tell me all the time how I shouldn't have left this great job. And then, I would think, oh, hey, like, what if I did leave this great job? I had great jobs before that, and did this, and it just ended up in failure. Like, it was something I just couldn't quite face. So I have an older brother. I loved hearing about the winemaker's father. My older brother was the only person in our family who had ever done startups. And he had experience. He used to call me and periodically check on me. And at one point he called me and he said, how's it going? And I said, hey, I need to shut this thing down. I haven't told any of the employees. I haven't told anybody, but I'm going to shut this down. And he said, why? And I said, well, because I'm running out of money. And it's kind of obvious. I don't think we can make it. He said, your team is awesome. You're doing great. You're making great progress. Give me your bank account number right now. And I said, why? And he said, I'm going to wire you $50,000. And I said, are you sure you want to do, I spent half an hour trying to talk him out of it, why that was such a dumb idea. But he said, no, I believe in you and I'm going to do it. And he did it, actually, that day. It showed up in my bank account. And so we were able to continue and go forward. And for me, that kind of changed everything. Just his belief in me that I could do it changed everything. And it changed the seriousness with which I decided we had to get going. And I went around and asked everyone else that I thought believed in me, who could maybe afford it, trusted me, people I had worked for before, people who knew me in my network, and just asked them to invest. That was, of course, a slow process, and it was a tough time to get checks. But what we realized is I can't have this horizontal platform that does lots of things to lots of people. I really had to pick one thing and do it extremely well. And then we had to be, whatever we were doing had to be non-discretionary spend because there was no discretionary spend in 2009. So after talking to a lot of people and all of our different ideas, we emerged on this legal idea, solving an issue in legal. And that became the best option. And other than maybe wine or alcohol, the only other thing that's recession-proof in this country is litigation. So that we can count on. So with that new idea, we had to do two things really fast. We had to validate this pivot, and then we had to raise more money to make that pivot happen. So we raised money from all these people who knew me, not lots. When I say all, it was very slow and painful. And then we were actually able to get some traction with some local CEOs. Thank goodness that Steve Wynn, who was of Ader Wynn, an attorney, and of Adidas, and then Steve Sharp, who was the CEO of Triquint, and others sort of joined in on the bandwagon. And we took all of our marketing sales energy and we said, we have to pick something that we can explain extremely easily, and we have to identify our exact buyer very easily. So let's pick something. And the city actually turned out to be one of our first customers. The then mayor, Sam Adams, actually reached out to us, and Skip Newberry, who was working with him at the time, actually got us to work with the city attorney's office. We then started actually getting some traction with a law firm in California, and then some Fortune 500 companies, AIG, a large insurance company, and then Yahoo, a big tech company, actually joined on and started working with us very early in the process. And so we were really excited. So once again, it's wow, we're brilliant. I couldn't believe that. I was like, wow, this is just going great. So people said, hey, all the slow fundraising and slow progress, you should apply to the Oregon Angel Fund, because they have a fund and you can get a lot of funds all at once. So we then presented, and after months and months of diligence, worked with lots of different people in the Oregon Angel Fund. I actually can't even think, I would probably cry if I counted the number of hours that I spent working on this proposal and working with the team there. And then the night came when they voted. And their process has changed since my day, maybe because of my day. But they voted us down and voted not to invest in us, where we put most of all of our energy kind of into this process. And that was like somebody punched me in the gut. I didn't know what to do. My employees were counting on me. I had customers now who were starting to count on me. I had prior investors and family, friends that were counting on me. And I think combined with them voting me down, but in addition to just saying, we don't think you can make it, doing it, it was a pretty large forum, somewhat public. It felt like a reality TV show. You know, I felt like I was being voted off the entrepreneurial island. But life did go on, and we were able to make our way, gain more customers, and with customers comes more investment money. But it took a lot more time than I expected, and it went a lot slower than I ever expected. I think if I had known, I never would have even done this. So sometimes being naive about the whole thing actually helps you. But what I realized after all that was it was never about the idea. Like people talk about all the time, is that a good idea? Is that a bad idea? And every day I go, oh my God, maybe it's a horrible idea. It wasn't about the idea. It never was. It was actually about the team and the people that were involved. Because what we had, I think, was grit. Like, I think we had the perseverance to get past all those moments and keep going, no matter how hard it got. And one of the things when I say I struggle with grit, I have, to this day, struggled. Because there's a lot in popular culture and business books about grit and perseverance and how it's a great thing. But I couldn't figure out, sometimes it feels like a great thing, and sometimes actually it doesn't. You know, I think entrepreneurs, they can't time the market. Like no matter who tells you they can, they cannot. No one knows what is going to happen when. But what they do know is that there are large trends. And you can look for those large trends and say, okay, I see a big wave coming. I am going to position my surfboard right here. And I'm going to stay very well positioned. And when that wave comes, I am going to ride it like heck, because I know it's coming. For me, I had been in software all my life and all my career, and I knew that the cloud, software as a service, were huge trends, and we were the first to bring that to legal. So I knew it was going to work out. I didn't know when, but I was going to be positioned and well ready. So what does grit mean, kind of to me? I think it means no matter what, you position yourself for moving forward. But how do you know what forward is? Because frankly, you're going to encounter tons of barriers. We all know that. I mean, everybody's tried it. And you're going to encounter lots of naysayers, people who tell you how bad your idea is, how stupid you are for even doing this. And the truth is, it's a lot easier for people to poo-poo your idea than to actually tell you any constructive moving forward. So you have to remember that. Every business plan has warts. Every business has warts. And so people can tell you the warts, but you got to decide, like, how am I going to take that feedback about the warts? Because if you had a business that didn't have warts, somebody would have already done it before. So every business has warts. So what I think about is when people are telling me negative feedback about what I'm doing, I really have to think about why are they telling me that? What experiences have they had that led them? Do they have their own experiences and doubts that people are a product of, and that they're giving you that frame of reference? And so it's a kind of a tough balance, because the evil twin of grit is stubbornness, right? If you stick to your idea and you stick to your guns and you do not listen to anybody, you're frankly just a stubborn person, and you're probably not going to succeed. Because you can't hold on to bad ideas. That's the big learning. We talked about agility, right? But there's this whole recognition for me in this journey. There was this whole recognition that changing my idea, just admitting I was wrong and I needed to go a different direction, that was not a weakness. Because for me, it felt like a weakness in the very beginning. I think for a lot of people, it feels really hard to say, yeah, I was totally wrong about that, and I'm going to listen to this person, I'm going to change my idea. It's actually healthy, and it is absolutely necessary for success. And once you embrace that, sort of embracing who you are, once you embrace that, that's not a weakness, I think great things happen. So my solution is this kind of concept of feedback-based agility. So listening to advice from experienced people, but more importantly, from your customers and from the market. And to me, what I learned, the most important thing is to test things in a very small way. So you're testing things to see if they're really going to work out. Like, always doubt yourself. It's funny, like I'm standing here talking about grit, and I'm saying doubt yourself, which sounds very counterintuitive, because you gotta have to have a lot of confidence to go down this entrepreneurial journey. But instead of always assuming that everything you're doing is right, I think I learned that I have to test everything with small amounts of resources, and then get some feedback, and then take it from there and double down on the ideas that actually seem to be working. You know, when we went from Zapproved to Legal Hold Pro, we took 1 week. We told our developer, you've got 1 week. We have to reskin, like all of us worked on it. We all reskinned the application. And it wasn't perfect, it wasn't right. It wasn't even really totally functional, but we took it to a legal trade show and tried to see what kind of feedback we got from potential customers, and it was great. And that was how it warranted a further investment in that idea. We had lots of bad ideas that we invested way too much in, but we tried very hard to test the waters and listen for signals. So I guess my takeaways as I wrap up would be kind of invest, don't speculate. We kept our burn to a very low minimum until we knew we were on to great ideas. And then we were able to exit we were able to exit the recession and be cash flow positive, grow organically, and have a strong market presence. And then we, now, as I sit here, being in the cloud became a big asset, because we had customers that told us they would never, ever put legal data in the cloud. And now they're, of course, telling us they're required to put legal data in the cloud. So the same people that said never, ever are changing their tune. But I'm happy to say that, at this point we've raised institutional funding. We have 1 in every 6 employees in the Fortune 500 actually using our Legal Hold software. But I guess it feels great, but it feels like no matter what milestone we get to and where we get to, there's constant challenges and there's constant barriers. So you have to learn to kind of embrace it and decide that you enjoy it. I think Sean said he'd never have it any other way. I think that's the right, if you can ask yourself, would you never have it any other way? Then it's the right thing for you. But for me personally, I've had a lot of great jobs, but I've never been happier and never been more alive and more excited about everything that I do every morning when I wake up than now. So I hope that works out for you as well. Thanks.